Chimai, this is Candace Branson. I am teaching the Elutic Orthography class of 2018, and we're going to go over Chapter 6 of the Elutic Orthography book. There's a short section that also is out of Chapter 8, um, but we're going to cover Fricative Dropping and Prosthetics. We're going to start by reviewing what a fricative is. A fricative is a consonant produced by forcing breath through a constricted passage. Now, in this lesson, we're going to specifically talk about G and R. So, fricative dropping, the rule is that weak consonants, G, R, and sometimes Y, can drop out of the middle of words, between vowels, or between a voiced consonant and a single vowel. The fricative is replaced by an apostrophe in that case, and that often means that there's gemination in the word. In both cases, the dropped fricative is followed by a single vowel only, never a double vowel. So we'll give you some examples in the next slide here. So in kiahua, the fricative is here because there's two vowels after the fricative. But when you change it to kiauk, we have one vowel after the fricative, and so the fricative is dropped, and we replace it with an apostrophe. Now, the first one means I'm crying, and the second one is he's crying. So kiahua and kiauk. There are certain words and postbases or endings that do this. What's really important here is to remember the pattern, because when you hear a word that is kind of missing this letter, you'll notice, and then you'll know how to get that letter back because you know the pattern. I remember when I learned this rule, it filled in so many gaps in my learning to that point. It was like, oh my gosh, this rule is what I've been missing in trying to figure out endings or postbases that for words that I didn't quite grasp yet. So I hope that you feel that way too. Another example is ulluk, and that's pants. And in ulluk, the fricative has been dropped here in this word. That's pants. And then when we added a postbase that gave it another two vowels, then that R came back. Ulhuidok. He has no pants. And hey, maybe that's why he's crying. I don't know. So I wanted to remind everybody that an apostrophe represents gemination when the apostrophe is between a consonant and a vowel. So it doesn't, this one doesn't represent gemination because you only geminate consonants. It does represent a syllable break, so that kia is a syllable and ok is a syllable, so that it sounds kind of like kiaok. There's definitely two syllables of vowels there. And then kiahua is two syllables as well. Now this one does represent gemination, and that apostrophe represents that there's something missing there, that a letter has dropped, and we know that it's a fricative letter, but that apostrophe also lets us know that there's gemination, and we know there's gemination because there's a consonant, an apostrophe, and a vowel. So it reads ulluk. All right. So the only time that those fricatives don't drop are when there's two vowels following the fricative. And we get those two vowels often by adding postbases or endings that have a vowel pair. And so when we do that, the fricative will return or just stay. The example is the kiaok again. So kiahua has two vowels after the G, and then we drop that second vowel and we add the U ending, right? So you are crying, and it's kiauten, and then kiauk. But wait, there is an exception, and chapter 6 has errors. That's why we're making this video. When I read chapter 6 the first time, I was very confused. So the exception is written all over chapter 6, but it never identifies that there's an exception. So many of the examples are like proving the rule wrong. And these are the examples from the chapter. I think it's, let me find it real quick. So these are from chapter 6, section 6.2. And this exception is pretty much the only one. But many speakers drop the R in the past tense and transitive endings. So these are the past tense in transitive endings. Things like chleanga, chleit, chleaten, chleagut. And usually those are written as double L, R, and then two vowels and the end. So all of these have that. Double L, R, two vowels, and the ending. But often, and more often, Southern speakers do this than Northern speakers, but often our elder speakers will drop that R, even though there are two vowels following where that fricative goes. So the rule we're breaking is that a weak consonant returns before a vowel pair. But here we have two vowels, and that consonant is not there. So this is an exception to the rule, and it's in the book as an example of fricative dropping because it is fricative dropping. But this is actually an exception to the rule, and I hope it's not too confusing. So normally when you have a word with a fricative that drops out, the fricative will return when there's two vowels. But in this exception, we often drop the R anyway, just because of this kind of ending. So now let's talk about prosthetics. I remember this part of this class being so exciting for me when I was learning it because it like solved the riddle, right? So why does Nahluaka have a W? But when you say he doesn't know, Nahlucha, it has an R. That just always blew my mind, and I could never figure out the pattern. And so here it is. We use W and Y to prevent these vowel combinations from happening because I'(A) never happens. If it happens, it is wrong. It is a misspelling and it needs to be revised. I'(U) never happens. U'(I) absolutely not. U'(A) no. So in order to keep these vowel combinations from happening, we insert W and Y. So this comes with fricative dropping because it happens with fricative dropping. So let me get my pointer out. Tehua is going to experience fricative dropping of that G when we take away the two vowels. So we go to te-uten, which is you are coming. And if we didn't add that Y, we would have this. Tai'(U), ten, but that's not allowed. So you need a letter that easily transitions you from that first syllable to the second syllable without using an apostrophe, and that letter is Y. So we drop the G in this word because the G would be followed by a single vowel. So, fricative dropping, we drop the G, and then we need to replace the G with something because we can't have an I apostrophe U. Okay. And then the second example that I have is nakihua. So the G is followed by two vowels. And then when it's not going to be followed by two vowels, we replace it with a G, with a Y, because you can't have I apostrophe U. Now here's my example, the one that blew my mind. So naslucha is she doesn't know. And if we take away the R, because we're taking away an A, so if we drop that fricative because we're removing a vowel, then you'd have U apostrophe A. But you can't do that. So you have to add a W. Nasluwaka. It's the same sound. Uwa. Nasluwaka. But you're adding this transitional semi-consonant in to protect yourself from using that U apostrophe A. Mind-blowing, isn't it? Okay. Summary. I know that was really fast. You can watch it again. Weak consonants, G and R, and sometimes Y, can drop out of the middle of words, between vowels, or between a voiced consonant and a single vowel. The fricative is replaced by an apostrophe and often signifies gemination. The fricative drops if it is followed by a single vowel, but it comes back if it's followed by a double vowel, except for some speakers using past tense intransitives. An apostrophe represents gemination when an apostrophe is between a consonant and a vowel. And the prosthetics W and Y protect us from using forbidden vowel combinations. And those forbidden vowel combinations are listed there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it helped.